पानी की हर बूंद की अपनी कहानी है। किस बादल से बरस, किस पर्वत से निकल, किस नदी से लिपट, किस धरा से टकरा आपके ग्लास तक आई है। आज ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है, जिससे सबके ग्लास में पानी बना रहे। क्या आपके आसपास भी कोई पानी की कहानी है? जुड़िए पानी की कहानी इनिशिएटिव से। पानी की कहानी.org से जुड़ें। जानकारी के लिए संपर्क फॉर्म जरूर भरें। लोकल के लिए वोकल बने। नव प्रवर्तक पोर्टल्स भारतीय इंजीनियरिंग द्वारा स्वदेश में ही निर्मित एवं संचालित हैं। आज ही अपना खुद का पोर्टल बुक करें।
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीबॉडी। मलिक साहब ने मेरा काफ़ी मसला हल कर दिया। He has given a lot of series of solutions and I will not be repeating them. Let me go to the basics now. The basics is that when we talk of sustainable development, it is all inclusive. It is not confined to water alone. So as a planner, our approach is towards a sustainable development. We do not go specifically item-wise, plan water, electricity, so and so forth. So I will be talking in general about the sustainable development, what is our approach and what should be our approach. And this I will not be specifically not giving you any facts and figures regarding Gurgaon also, because you will be hearing a lot about it. And you must have already heard a lot about it now also. So now let me start that sustainable development, or partly you can say environmental and ecological planning, was not there as a concept in the town planning since for the last about 30 to 40 years ago. In fact, it was introduced in the process in the year 1976 by constitutional amendment, which was the result of the Stockholm Conference on Environment. So this word ecological and environmental planning was made as a state subject. It was included as a directive principles. As a state subject, then state should ensure these things, and it was also listed in the concurrent list. So every state was asked to go for environmental and ecological planning. But I don't remember, I have not come across any state or any planning legislation, because when we are doing with the town planning process, we are dealing with the public. There has to be a backup legislation in which we can enforce our plans, but none of the legislation, town planning legislations, has incorporated this aspect of the constitutional amendment in the planning process. And even this at the educational intake level also, and subsequently ecological and environmental planning was not that cause of concern, partly because the land was plenty, the water was plenty, the urbanization level was low, and many things were just taken for granted, which was wrong on our part. We should have done this exercise long ago, and all the planning process was confined to that so much of population will come, and they will need so many residential houses, so many industrial, so many component, commercial component, and so on and so forth. And then we estimated so much of water will be required to be provided, and immediately after estimating so much of water will be required to be provided, from where we will This planning and execution approach has led us to this situation, critical situation where the town size has started growing and the consumption of water has increased, the discharge has increased. Now the question of management has crept in and we are almost like in a state of a firefighting. So my concern is that whatever has been done. Now we can adopt certain interim measures. Mr. Malik Saab has elaborated them and subsequently also many other speakers will be talking on it. But for future at least we can have a vision which requires a total paradigm shift in the planning process. That we should start from the ecological base. The ecological base is that you calculate how much of water is going, how much is the rainfall, how much will be the discharge, how much will be the soil absorption, and then you calculate the amount of water which you can extract, and then you can come out and it can hold this much of population. Instead of saying that we need this much of population and we will get our water from say Sonipat and we will get our dispose our sewage there and so forth. Please remember, one can go against the dictates of the nature. Technological development has taken place. If tomorrow you decide that you want to grow bananas in the North Pole, well, you can do. But at what cost and why should that should be done? Easiest method is that you go as per the dictates of the natural topography, natural conditions of the soil. Not only the soil conditions, fauna and flora also. Those have taken shape over a lot of years. They have come into existence and we should not disturb them unnecessarily by planting certain plants and after 20-30 years we say, oh, ye to kaabli ki kar aa gayi, isne to gadbad kar di sab kuch. That approach should not be there at all. Respect the natural fauna and flora, respect the local land slopes where we do not cut across the water channels, maintain all the water bodies and water channels, and do not allow unnecessarily concentration of too much of irrigation. They can be spread in a better planned way and have a total regional approach to planning. So if we have a regional approach to planning, then we know what is the bearing capacity of the soil in that particular region, what is the condition of the water availability of that particular region, and the state should have a urbanization policy, maybe a region wise, that say you project your total population, so much of population is likely to be absorbed in the say urban areas, and how to absorb that population in urban areas in a totality when we think of a region or a state. It is not so that we do not know which town is likely to grow at which particular rate, and then therefore the estimation of water availability and its drain-off is also a matter of subjectivity. So with all these things, these are the things which we have learned over a period of time, maybe out of example, and we were not good at it in the initial stages. But now I think the approach needs to be total ecological based approach for sustainable development, and that should be the paradigm now. Thank you.